All right, welcome back, Thinking Rationally, episode 3. Today we're going to talk about compliments.
Compliments.
We have a rule where we try to never hold a compliment back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the last genuine compliment you got?
The last genuine compliment I got was June of 2023, and I was at work, and I work at an acai shop, and a lot of my job is cutting fruit, and I couldn't help but notice while I was finishing up some orders that there was a lady and her daughter staring me down out of the corner of my eye. I just saw them going, and I was just cutting bananas, and it happened to be their order that I was working on, and I handed it to them, and the lady, she thanked me for the bowls and said, "Hey, I just wanted you to know that the speed at which you're cutting bananas right now is the most entertaining thing me and my daughter have seen all day, and I just wanted to compliment you for it." And that was the last really genuine compliment I received, and that was about 7 months ago.
Bro, you had to have had another compliment in the last 7 months.
I wish I could say I did, but that's the only one that comes to mind.
I think, you know what it is? I think, like, we forget compliments pretty easily, but I think negativity is, like, easier to... The negativity is louder. Negativity sticks with you more, but compliments, I feel like, kind of fade unless it was something like that where it made a big impact. But the reason we have this rule of never holding a compliment back is because there's enough negativity in the world, and I think so many times you see somebody and you want to say something positive about them, but you might second guess yourself or doubt yourself because you don't want to be weird or you don't want to be creepy. Justin, have you ever had somebody compliment you and you were like, what a weirdo, why would they say something nice to me?
Absolutely never. If someone takes time out of their day to compliment me, when that lady complimented me, I was kind of blushing.
Bro, you still remember it 7 months later.
It was 7 months later, and I still remember what she said verbatim, and I still remember what her and her daughter looked like. And whenever I'm cutting fruit now, I still think about that. Because it was such a genuine compliment. Like, someone isn't gonna walk up with their daughter like that and completely fabricate a compliment like that. Like, it was very sincere.
I remember, you know, after you get a haircut and you have like the awkward phase, like the first week or two, where it's always like you don't really feel the most confident with the hair because it still looks like you just got it cut.
Yeah, you gotta let it cook a little bit.
Yeah, but I remember, like, it was like a day after, so it was like peak awkward phase, and someone complimented my hair, and I stopped and I was like, bro, that means a lot to me because I was insecure about it, and that happened again like a couple days later, both times where I was feeling insecure about it, but people made a point to compliment it, and it made me feel a lot better about it. And those are examples of kind of other people like saying stuff to me, but we make it a point to like go out of our way to compliment people the second it comes into your brain. Like, I remember one time I saw this girl and she looked like a celebrity, and you know, maybe I could have sat there and doubted whether I should say it, like, oh, I don't want to be creepy, or I don't want to intrude, I don't want to be, but I didn't. The second I saw her, I was like, yo, you look just like that celebrity, and it clearly meant a lot to her. She really appreciated it. And then even later, I saw her. Don't ask how I saw this. It was just, I wasn't being creepy, but somehow I saw her on her phone, like showing her friend pictures of that celebrity. Like, it meant so much to her that she was like, yo, some guy told me I look like, and it was just a quick sentence for me. Like, it was so easy for me to do, but it went such a long way. And I think positivity, like, it's a chain reaction. Like, I said that to her, now she feels better about herself. Now maybe she'll go on and spread positivity in some way, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, just spreading that type of positivity, it just helps the world become a better place, because it'll just, I mean, just like the saying, what goes around comes around. So you give the positive message, that person will then feel great, and they'll be more inclined to give someone else a positive message, and that person will be more inclined to give someone else a positive message, and et cetera, et cetera. That web is just spread, and the world is just a better place because of it. And another way that we definitely see the negative a lot more than we should is, I mean, I'm still in school, Sammy's not, but he was, so we can both speak to this, and anyone who has ever taken a test before can definitely speak to this. Let's say you get a 29 out of 30 on a test. Your mind will go, oh, great, I got a 29. But what about that one I missed? You got one away from perfect, and your mind is still obsessed over the fact that you were 1 away from perfect. Not that you got 29 out of the 30 correct, but the fact that you got 1 wrong, even though there were 29 that you were successful on.
Yeah, and I think because our brains have that tendency to prioritize the negative, and I think it's like it's an ancestral thing, like it's a survival thing to look for the threat and look for the danger. But I think because we have that tendency, it's important to make an effort to prioritize positivity. And I think the best way to do that is by giving it. You get what you give. And so, you know, you might think, well, I've never been complimented randomly or whatever. Start complimenting people and you'll realize it comes back around.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And just compliments in general, even if you aren't someone who likes to be complimented very much, so you don't see it as, okay, I don't like to be complimented very much, so other people don't like it as well. A compliment can mean so much more to another person than you think. Like this past summer, my brother and I were with our family in Italy, and we were walking down the street, and my brother happened to notice that there was a guy walking towards us who had a really cool outfit on, but he was also smoking. And he turned to me, he's like, that guy's fit is sick, but he's smoking. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if he's smoking. Compliment. You got to give the compliment. And he walked up, he delivered the compliment, said the outfit was sick, and that prompted a whole 30-minute conversation about how happy that guy was that he got a compliment, because no one had said anything, and he had tried super hard on this outfit. No one had said anything, and he was over the moon, completely joyed, and he was such a nice guy.
Yeah, he was so grateful. He was so grateful for it, and you would have no idea. You have no idea the impact it has.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many times where I've complimented people, and you don't know when they go home and they're thinking about it. You don't see the impact, you don't see the reaction, but you know that you did your best to put out positivity. And that's the other thing. I know sometimes people are scared of doing that because they think, you know, what if this person says something weird, or what if someone... And every time that I've done this, and I've complimented strangers like hundreds of times, like everywhere I go, and my brain is like programmed to look for things. And it's not, that's not to say it's not genuine. That's not to say I'm like, let me just find something. But I appreciate more things about people now, and I look for positive things in people, and I think it gives you a better worldview in general. But what was I saying? I had a point.
About the outfit?
Oh, what people are going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Were you worried about how people are going to react? Like we said earlier, have you ever had someone compliment you and you were taken aback, and you were, obviously if it's like a weird compliment, like something sexual, like that's not what we're talking about. But if you ever had someone give you a genuine compliment, you're never going to be like, weirdo, why would they say that? It's always received well. And if it's not received well, that's on them. That's a them thing, and you can't let their reaction change what you're going to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's you did your best in order to put positivity out in the world. The reaction they have is completely out of your control. All you have to worry about is doing what's in your control, which in this case is spreading that positivity. Once that compliment's out, the compliment's out. You don't have to worry about it. You did your best, and the positivity is now in the world.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to not overthink it. Like, just send it. The second you think it, just say it. Because once you start thinking too much about it, you start to question whether that's what you should say. But I think your intuition is always the first thought you have. And your intuition is always it's the instinct. And so once you feel that urge to, if you just see somebody and you think, that's a cool sweatshirt, the second you hear that thought in your head, just say it out loud, because then you never know what can come of it too. Like, I've had so many times where, like we were saying in Italy, we had a 30-minute conversation with the guy. So many times it just sparks up a great conversation, because everyone's just people, and you get energy from starting the conversation too. Like, I know sometimes if I'm feeling in not as social of a mood, I'll think, like, I could compliment this person right now, but like, I'm not really feeling very social. But then I'll do it, and then we'll start talking, and then suddenly I'm in a great mood. I want to talk to everybody, because it also gives you so much faith in humanity too, because when you start talking to strangers and talking to more people, you realize we're all kind of the same. We all want the same things. We all just want love and happiness and peace, and everyone's living such similar lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing to mention is absolutely do not, and we can both speak from experience on this one too, do not be afraid of someone's RBF. That's a huge thing. Is if you want to give someone a compliment, give it to them, regardless of if they look angry and brooding. A good example of this is to anyone who goes to the gym. those big, huge guys, those are 99 times out of 100, those are the nicest people you'll ever meet in the gym. But people are afraid to talk to them because, you know, they're huge. They're the biggest, most muscular people in the gym. They're pushing the most weight, and that's intimidating. And speaking from experience, it's intimidating. Those people are, I mean, they're just big people, but you start talking with them, they're going to be the most helpful. They're going to be the most genuine. They're just great people. But the fact that they're big, the fact that some people can have an RBF, that can be intimidating to a lot of people. You just have to dismiss that. You have to do what you think the right thing is, and just follow it. Just follow your gut.
It's a cool pair of sweatpants.
Go tell her. No.
I have to.
Justin just saw a girl with a cool pair of sweatpants, and he literally, you know, we're mid-episode talking about never holding a compliment back, so of course he has to run and go tell her. She was pretty far gone, but he just ran and told her that she liked them. All right, what was her reaction?
I was just like, oh, thank you.
That doesn't seem like it was like such a big deal, but you never know. You know, that could put her in a positive vibe now.
You never know. You just gotta, it's just action before thought. I saw it, I thought they were cool, and then I spoke, oh, I think those are cool. You just have to act.
Yeah, this applies to a lot of other things too. I think once you start acting, then the feeling comes over you after. This applies to like music a lot, because I think a lot of people think that if you sit around and wait for inspiration, that's how you're supposed to write. Like, you sit around and you live life, and then you wait to be inspired to write a song, and then you write it. That's not, it's the opposite of that. To write a song, dude, I just try to write every single day. Like, I don't wait for inspiration. Inspiration comes from action. You act first. This is such a common misconception. This is the same thing for like any goal, like working out or anything.
100%.
People think that you're gonna feel inspired. Okay, this motorcycle guy is inspired to ruin our podcast. People think you're gonna feel inspired and then you're gonna take action and do something. But really, it's the other way around. If you take the action first, you'll notice you get the inspiration as a byproduct of it.
Exactly, yeah. What a lot of people fail to realize is motivation is an emotion. It's not something that you can depend on completely, because it won't always be there. Just like you're not always going to be on top of the moon, just completely 100% happy all the time, but you're not always going to be sad all the time. It's because those are emotions. They come and go. Motivation, when it's there, it feels great because you feel so inclined to do whatever you want to do. However, it won't always be there. But if you take the steps in order to do what you want to do, the motivation will come through action. It's not action through motivation. A lot of people, just like Sammy was saying, a lot of people get the saying reversed, and they think that motivation is just always there, but you need to do whatever you want to do, whether it's writing a song, going to the gym. You need to take the steps in that direction, and then the motivation will just come as a byproduct, and then you can use that momentum to keep going.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people stop themselves because they won't take the action because they don't feel good enough to do it. But when you start doing it, it gets easier. Like, that's why not holding a compliment back helps in so many other aspects of your life, because it teaches you to act before you think. And once you start moving in the right direction, like say you see somebody in, like that example with Justin just now, you like their sweatpants. Before he even thought about it, he started moving towards her. And once you start moving in that direction, then it all just makes sense and it's easy from there.
Exactly. If I really sat and thought about it, there probably would have been some hesitation. The feeling of butterflies in your chest, in your stomach, wherever they are. Maybe the butterflies are outside, who knows? That feeling of nervousness that builds up, if I didn't just get up and go, that definitely would have happened. I would have been sitting here recording, and that would have been in the back of my mind thinking, oh, I should have complimented them. I had the compliment in my head, and yet I didn't choose to act on it. But I did.
Yeah, the oh well is always better than the what if.
Definitely.
And this applies to like going up to a girl or a guy you're interested in too. That's such a big thing. I think so many people probably get paralyzed and see someone they like, and then they don't go up to them, and then they're always thinking like, oh, that girl on the subway, or that guy that I saw in class that I just haven't said anything to. Then you're constantly thinking what if, or what would happen if we talked. And I think people talk down a lot on like modern dating and relationships, and are like, oh, only way to meet people is apps these days and stuff. But that's really not the case if you're actually willing to make an effort to talk to people and just make conversations with strangers in places. And I know, don't talk to strangers is something you're taught growing up, but I think that's actually really terrible advice, because I think it alienates you. And obviously, like as a kid, when you're told that so many times, you begin to see people as different and foreign, and that's not the case. We're like I said earlier, we're all so similar, and that's what you learn when you talk to people everywhere. We could be in Switzerland, we could be in Europe, in random places, and talk to people, and you feel like we're all going through the same human experience.
Exactly. Everyone's the same. We might be born in different places. We might have different upbringings, but the way that we think about things is much more similar than people begin to realize. And just like Sammy said, talking to people is it's such a vital thing to do, and it's also just a vital skill to have, because you're never going to just be in your room all day, never socializing with anyone. I had a teacher that always wanted us to do group projects, and she said, if someone can give me a list of 5 jobs where you never have to interact with another human, then I'll let you do the project on your own, because there were a few people that did. And she said, 5 jobs, 0 interaction from whatever you're doing to the income coming in, 0 interaction, it's all yours. No one could think of 5, because there's always human interaction there. Always. It's always there.
Yeah, and it's like common sense, but it's really neglected still. And I think too, whenever I'm hanging out with our grandma and we're walking places, like she'll talk to everybody. We'll be in the aisle at the grocery store, and she'll say she likes someone's dress, or she'll say, one time she told me, okay, so she complimented this lady, but she said, that's an interesting vest. She said, that's an interesting vest. And after we walked away, I was like, so did you like that vest? Or she's like, no, I didn't at all. But she still said it was interesting. She still found a way to kind of make it into a compliment. And then the lady obviously took it as a compliment, and she appreciated it. And then they talked for a little bit, had a conversation. But I think the older generations were so much better at talking to people everywhere. Or like, you're walking down the street and you walk and you're crossing paths with somebody, and they just go, how's it going? How's your day going? That's like what I always do. I think that's standard and normal, but I think maybe because of AirPods and people are on their phones and all this, people are so much more hesitant to just engage in conversations with random people. But the compliment thing is a nice gateway into starting up a conversation with a random person. I think it's a nice little... Once you're talking, it's easy. It's so easy.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely think the shutdown kind of did a hard reset on everything too, because I've always found myself to be I've had no problem with talking to people on the street, whether it's old people, young people, people my age, parents. I've never had a problem with that. And the shutdown happens, and then I find myself in Zoom classes too anxious to hit the unmute button in order to ask a question. And I just had a realization one day after class. I'm like, I'm in the comfort of my own home, and I'm too scared to just click a button in order to speak. That is unbelievable. And fortunately, around that time, things started to get back to normal. So socializing in person started to become a normal thing again. So I didn't have to worry about that. But that was just an unbelievable thing to me, because I'm in the comfort of my own home, and I'm too afraid to speak.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That I didn't know that. It's crazy that
it's insane.
Your social skills regressed so much from not seeing people.
Yeah, they went from 100 to 0. I thought I was doing great. I thought I was on cloud 9, and then I was down in the dumps. I was in the gutter.
Yeah, the other thing with complimenting people though too is it opens the door for them to compliment you. I think complimenting people, it is kind of hard and awkward at first. You get in the groove of it. Like now it just comes naturally. But at first it feels a little weird. And so, but if someone compliments you first, you almost feel like, if someone's like, nice sweater, you're almost like, oh, well, I like your eyes. It's like you feel like you're indebted to them and you want to compliment them back.
Exactly. And them giving you a compliment, it kind of just opens up a new perspective in your eyes, that you're just seeing things in the lens of compliments. They give you a compliment and your mind just immediately goes, oh, compliment. And then you just scan them for a way to return the favor. Yeah,
and that's such a good way of looking at things. It's you're looking for the positive, and when you're looking for the positive, you see the positive. Like an example of that is like with this is such a common example, but maybe you haven't heard it. with cars, if you're in the market for a Tesla, suddenly you see Teslas everywhere. Or if you want a Prius, now everyone everywhere has Priuses. Okay, did everyone just suddenly also want the same car as you, and everyone just bought a bunch of Priuses right now?
Mm-hmm.
No, the Priuses were always there, but you were literally blind to them because your reticular activating system, which is the part in your brain that decides what's important, because we have so many things coming in at once that our brain can't process it all at one time.
So many stimuli.
Right, so your brain decides what's important and what's not. And so say with the Prius example, the Prius becomes important to you because now that's a car that you want or a car that you have, right? So with the compliment thing, if compliments become your like normal way of being and you're looking for ways to bring people up and boost people up, you're suddenly going to start seeing them. You're going to see things in people you never would have seen before. And it's the same thing, like, I think a lot of people, their default is judgment. Their default is finding negatives in people. And when your default is finding negatives, you're going to find more negatives, not only in other people, you're going to find more negatives in yourself because that's what you're looking for.
Exactly. You see what you look for. The lens at which you see the world will dictate what you see. If you're looking for negative, you'll see negative. If you're looking for positive, you'll see positive. If you go outside and you want to look for Teslas, you'll see Teslas. If you go outside and you want to look for palm trees, you'll find palm trees, unless you're in Antarctica. So, but the lens at which you choose to see the world is how you see the world. You don't see reality, you see your reality. You see what you want to see.
Right. There's no objective world out there. You are attached to your perception of the world. The observer and the observed are connected. And so, like I was saying, like, complimenting other people will benefit your life in so many ways because you'll notice you start judging yourself less and you start loving yourself more. And it comes so full circle. Like when you put out positivity, it comes back to you in so many ways. And if that only is you're walking and you're in a weird mood and you compliment somebody, you feel like an instant better feeling when they say thank you so much and they smile. Even just a smile. Oh, one time I was in Spain.
This is an incredible story.
I was in Spain and I was sitting eating an acai bowl. We love acai bowls.
Acai bowls run through our veins.
I was sitting eating an acai bowl, looking over the beach, and there were these two cute girls walk by, and one of them looked up at me. I was kind of on like a upper thing, looked up at me, and she smiled, and I smiled, and then they both kind of smiled and giggled and walked away. And I was like, oh, that was sweet. And then maybe a half hour later, I saw them down the beach a little bit, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta say hi to them. Like, I was like, hey, did I see you guys earlier back there? And they're like, oh yeah. And then we ended up hanging out for the next like 8 hours. Like, they were super cool. We just walked around, we talked. They ended up being like, we were so similar in so many ways. I had an incredible time with them. And then later that night, as we were kind of saying bye, they were like, hey, do you know why we smiled at you? And I was like, you just thought I was like the sexiest guy alive or what? And they were like, well, yeah, but they were like, no, we're talking about how doesn't it feel good when you smile at someone and they smile back? So we wanted to see if we smiled at somebody, if they would smile back. And we looked up at you and smiled, and you smiled back, and we're like, oh. So they felt the positive energy exchange. I felt the positive energy exchange. And then because we ended up running into each other, we had 8 hours of positive vibes. Like, it was just a great time, and it all came from a smile. So you know what? Here's the homework for you guys. If you're even too scared to just give the compliment, just start smiling at people. Just try that. Honestly, I think a compliment can even be easier than smiling sometimes too. Because sometimes when you smile and they don't smile back, it's like hard. But at least if you compliment them, they kind of have to engage.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're engaging them in conversation. A thing that I've had happen in the past is I smile at someone, but sometimes they just don't look up. So I feel like I'm smiling at a wall. But if you say, hey, excuse me, and you give them a compliment, I mean, hopefully they acknowledge you. Hopefully they don't just walk by. But once again, if they do, that's on them.
It's on them. They're in their own world. People are walking and they're in their own world. That's why it's always nice when you break people out of their robot mode. I think people are when you're walking and you're just out in public, like, you get in autopilot, and we like to try to break people out of autopilot as much as possible. And so, you say like, hey, how's it going? And like, good, how are you? It's very mechanical. But sometimes we'll try to like switch it up and say something like, oh, living the dream, beautiful day outside, isn't it? Just to get people out of that autopilot mode and have a real conversation, and then you can have such a deeper connection.
Exactly. Yeah, it just kind of prompts a new neural connection, because if you just give a, hey, how's it going? And they're just, good, how about you? They're just expecting a good, or half the time if it's a, hey, how's it going? Sometimes people just won't even respond, because the hey, how's it going? That's the greeting, and that's it. They're not expecting an actual response. It's just a rhetorical question. But if you give them something where they actually have to think a little bit, it's going to prompt an entire conversation that they probably wouldn't have had.
Yeah. So we can wrap it up. What are we at?
32 minutes and 20 seconds with 2 minutes left of rolling time.
Perfect. Well, let's compliment you guys real quick. I want to say you guys are amazing. We appreciate all the support. We've only dropped an episode so far, but you guys have been so nice, and everyone, it's so cool starting something new and feeling so much love and support. It's so inspiring to keep going and keep putting stuff out.
Exactly. It's been incredible. And I think it was in the last episode that I said I only spend a combined 30 minutes on Snapchat and Instagram on my phone per day. I actually have to take that back now because of all of the loving DMs I've gotten from you guys. It's been, I've spent so much time responding to you guys that I had to have Sammy extend the limit for a little bit, because I'm like, if I only have 30 minutes, I'm not going to be able to respond to all of these messages. Like, this is incredible. So a big thank you from the bottom of my heart. Was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. We're excited to keep these going. And so just the takeaway with this one is never hold a compliment back.
Never.
If you're feeling something positive about somebody, just say it. Don't think too much about it. Let it fly, and just realize how big of an impact that can make on somebody, and how big of an impact it'll make on you in return.
Exactly. Never underestimate the impact you can make on someone else.
Yeah. All right. On that note, peace.
Peace.